All right, once again, the disgusting underbelly of the Washington, D.C. swamp and sewer and deep state is being exposed. This is a good thing. Now, as we speak, we have unelected bureaucrats all over our nation's capital. They have been and continue to work actively to undermine your 2016 vote. They all think they know better than you, the American people. They think they know better than President Trump. And tonight, one such bureaucrat hiding behind, of course, the veil of anonymity, almost everything is anonymous, bashing this president in a New York Times irresponsible op-ed, writing, quote, "I work for President Trump, but like-minded colleagues and I have vowed to thwart parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations." And it gets worse from there. We're going to spare you all the sanctimonious details, but here's how the president reacted earlier today. Take a look.
We have somebody in what I call the failing New York Times that's talking about he's part of the resistance within the Trump administration. This is what we have to deal with. And, you know, the dishonest media, because you people deal with it as well as I do. But it's really a disgrace. You tell me about some anonymous source within the administration, probably who's failing and probably here for all the wrong reasons. No. And the New York Times is failing. If I weren't here, I believe the New York Times probably wouldn't even exist. So if the failing New York Times has an anonymous editorial, can you believe it? Anonymous, meaning gutless, a gutless editorial. We're doing a great job.
There's a truth there. The New York Times, Washington Post, fake news, CNN, conspiracy TV, MSNBC, the networks. When Trump leaves office in 6 years, they're going to decline precipitously. It's going to be fun to watch. Now, the president continued his response on Twitter. He wrote, quote, "Does the so-called senior administration official really exist, or is it just the failing New York Times with another phony source? If the gutless anonymous person does indeed exist, the Times must, for national security purposes, turn him, her over to the government at once." Now, tonight, we're asking the question, all right, who is this person? Where does this person work within the administration? It's potentially hundreds of so-called senior officials in the executive branch. Does this person have access to top secret information? Is there a national security risk? Now, of course, if he or she has a problem with the president, his agenda, they should quit immediately. But if they're going to undermine the president and it deals with intelligence, sources, methods, national security, what if the president was talking about potentially having to go to war against an enemy? Are they going to undermine that too? Now think about how profound and dangerous that can be, in spite of the gutless and cowardly hiding behind what is swamp attacks that we get every day. We've said this many times. Deep state actors, just like today's anonymous author, just one of the 5 forces constantly, never-ending efforts to destroy President Trump. This individual thinks their opinion, as a Washington bureaucrat, matters more than your vote, the American people that voted in 2016. Now, this person thinks they know better than all of us, the smelly Walmart people, the ones that are irredeemable deplorables clinging to our God, our guns, our Bibles, and our religion. That's what they think of us. On the bright side, the op-ed is a very good sign that the president is keeping his promise, and every day he's trying to drain this swamp and this sewer. And you see the swamp reacting this way. In the end, hear me out, this is great for the country because things need to change. And without a doubt, the good news is the president's keeping that promise. Yeah, he's draining the swamp. He's breaking China. He's challenging the status quo. He's reshuffling the deck. He's stepping on all the toes of all the good old boy systems that have always existed for them, not us, not we the people, those that prefer the good old days in Washington and their good old insider deals and their lobbying efforts. They're freaking out because they see that their power is slipping out of their hands. And whoever this anonymous super patriot is who wrote this anti-Trump hit piece in the New York Times, I would argue dangerously published, is nothing more than a swamp sewer creature who can't stand that there's a new sheriff in town. This means the president's effective. The anonymous source claims that the president's not a conservative and that he's attacked conservatism. Excuse me, the president's actions speak loud and clear. Look at the side of your screen. Let's see. Record tax cuts. Oh, conservative originalists on the court, a real push for border security. Let's see. We've got the individual mandate gone, burdensome regulations on businesses gone, millions of people, 4 million off of food stamps, 4 million new jobs created, and I could keep rolling throughout the show. Real promises made by the president, more than any president in our lifetime, keeping his word. And let me speak directly to the author of this article, whoever you, he, she may be. You know, while you half acknowledge in the article that this isn't about you, let's be honest, it's all about you and people like you. And it's about your obsessive, compulsive hatred of one man, the president. You're supposed to have, if you go into that White House every day or any of the surrounding buildings, you are supposed to serve your country and the agenda that the American people voted for. President's sticking to his promises and his agenda. And when you say the president has a preference for dictators like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, well, he's imposed the strongest sanctions against Russia. Unlike, Obama, I'll have more flexibility after the election. Tell Vladimir. Or North Korea. Let's see. Hostages are returned. The remains of American soldiers returned. No missiles fired over Japan. And we're talking about denuclearization of the entire Korean peninsula. So whoever you are, on top of everything else, you're a liar. So reveal yourself. Come on the show. Have some guts. Be courageous. Instead of hiding behind an anonymous column, kind of like the Woodward book. It starts out, I can't, this is all deep background. Nobody's going to reveal themselves, but I taped it. Release the tapes. Let's hear them. Let people identify themselves. Either way, this is where you, the American people, need to come in on this. This needs to be a wake-up call. You need to understand the swamp and the sewer of D.C. is desperate. It needs some serious draining. The president can't do it all on his own. And it's not going to happen in 62 days if Nancy Pelosi becomes a Speaker of the House. If the Democrats take back control of the House, we know they want to impeach the president. That effort will be in full effect. Just this weekend, if you don't believe me or Maxine Waters, just listen to Senate Minority Leader Chuckie Schumer vowing to do this very thing. And we've got it on tape. Take a look.
When y'all going to impeach Trump? Sooner the better. Sooner the better. That's not answering the question. Got to get a few Republicans. We're trying. We're both. Democrats are on your side.
Okay. Democrats, pay close attention. There's no vision for America. There's no plan to help make the economy stronger. No vision to make us tougher on foreign policy. They're not talking about the forgotten men and women in this country. Remember, 4 million more working, having jobs, manufacturing jobs that Obama said are never coming back are back. 4 million Americans, fewer Americans on food stamps. But to the Democrats, the swamp creatures, this is all a political game. All they care about is power. And power to them is impeaching and getting rid of President Trump and stopping what is his successful track record and agenda. And you got, of course, their best allies, the mainstream media. They are the propaganda wing of all things Democrat. They're acting as the devout extension of the Democratic Party. They want the president impeached. And, of course, tonight's anti-Trump media obsession is one every single day, surrounds the New York Times op-ed. Every day, crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis. Here's today's crisis. Take a look.
Anonymous hit in a stunning new op-ed in the New York Times.
Now, this op-ed in the New York Times, written anonymously.
An anonymous op-ed.
An anonymous person wrote this.
The senior official has written an anonymous op-ed.
This anonymous op-ed.
An unprecedented op-ed from an unnamed current Trump administration official.
An anonymous op-ed.
Who wrote this?
Anonymously.
Anonymous.
An anonymous.
Anonymity.
Anonymous op-ed.
All right. Meanwhile, earlier this week, the abusively biased press, okay, they were on a completely different